You're watching House Sparks Mega Worldwide. Speaking of unpleasant company, apologies ahead of time. Remember these two? Remember alleged child sex trafficker buddy of Joel Greenberg, who used to tour around with QANON Karen over here? And she didn't seem to have a problem with any of it. Remember that? Remember when they used to hang out and raise money for the Republican Party together? And she didn't have a problem with the fact that this motherfucker was paying underage girls and allegedly transporting them across state lines under the influences of drugs, allegedly, and had to leave fucking Congress lest his ethics report come out? All right. Yeah. Trump had to give him a shot at being the head of the DOJ so that he could have a reason to escape, essentially, to step down before they release the report. And then the idea is like, well, we can't release the report now. He's not a sitting member of Congress. Remember that? Because apparently these assholes don't. Trump peace push, Ukraine corruption, and U.S. sanctions, the Matt Gaetz Show with MTG.
Congresswoman, you've been one of the leading voices against excessive U.S. involvement in this war in Ukraine.
No. Not excessive. Any. She doesn't give a fuck. She wants Russia to win.
What do you think the U.S. interest is in that battle?
I'm not really sure, and I've never understood it. This is a war.
How about this? How about the United States is against countries that take 70,000 children hostage? And we're in this because, how about this? How about we're out as soon as they give all the kids back? That could be your stance. That could be where you pretend to give a shit about this QAnon Karen.
That started really back in 2014 under President Obama and then
No. Started in 91 when they broke up, and then later in that decade when Vladimir Putin took over and scuttled the 1997 NATO founding agreement and decided they were going to rebuild the USSR. And people like you have been carrying water for Vladimir Putin ever since.
President Joe Biden, and you and I watched it.
Sorry, was Biden president in 2014?
It started really back in 2014 under President Obama and then Vice President Joe Biden. And you...
No, technically Biden was his vice president at the same time, concurrently.
I watched it accelerate. We had a front row seat in Congress in 2022. And I was just thinking back fondly of when you were in Congress and we had, very deep discussions when we had our first vote.
Yeah, I can imagine the depth of those discussions.
To fund this war.
Yeah, just a bunch of mentally crayons and hammers melting and smashing into each other.
And I remember one of the things I was telling you is the reason why I'm voting against funding it, or one of the reasons, is because I thought it was going to have such horrific economic impacts all around the world. And we...
Huh? Sorry, defending Ukraine would have horrific economic impacts all around the world.
We saw that happen. We saw...
Oh, by the way, that is a drone hitting, I guess, an apartment building?
Inflation go up because...
Wait, sorry. You think inflation went up because of our support for Ukraine?
Once the sanctions were put in place on Russia, we saw a drastic change in basically world trade and trading power around the world. And
what? A drastic change? You mean the removal of Russian oil? What the fuck other products do you get from Russia besides instructions?
And we saw the BRICS nations become stronger.
No, we did not.
We saw Russia start selling their oil to many other countries and even...
No, many fewer countries. They were selling them to all those countries, and now they are selling them to less of those countries.
And selling their oil and gas still to our allies, but through third parties. We saw China get stronger, and...
No, you didn't.
Yeah, we saw the poor get poorer, Matt, and that is what...
Sorry. I thought that was a feature, not a bug of the Republican Party.
Continually happened. I think...
Sorry. And again, what funding should go towards helping the poor of the money that went to Ukraine from this idiot's point of view? The woman who is against the child tax credit, the woman who is against the Department of Education funding for special education and those kind of things. Like, where are poor people worse off because of spending she didn't get? What did she fight for? Like, well, we can't afford to do that. We've got to send money to Ukraine. And also, you can't say that, well, that we're taking on more debt. We're taking on more debt. And we shouldn't be taking on more debt to do this. Well, if we're taking on more debt, then we're not taking money that exists and giving to someone. We're borrowing money to give to them, and we're financing the freedom in the future through this process. And 90% of the money that we gave to Ukraine went right to red states. To buy munitions, to buy rockets, to buy stingers and javelins. And this might be shocking to her, but a lot of poor people live in those states and work for ammunition factories and are in the military even.
There have been extremely corrupt connections in Ukraine, intense money laundering of U.S. tax dollars, and weapons that the U.S. has supplied to Ukraine have been resold to our enemies.
There is a, hold on one second. Let's see, U.S. weapons, Ukraine, end up in the hands of, So in the black market, including aircraft Stinger missiles, same kind of the U.S. not providing. So this is 2022. What happens to weapons sent to Ukraine? The U.S. doesn't really know. This is in 2022. This is what she's referring to. Okay. The U.S. has a few ways to track substantial supply of anti-tank, anti-aircraft, and other weaponry it's sent across the border into Ukraine. Sources tell CNN a blind spot that's due in large part to the lack of U.S. boots on the ground in the country and the easy portability of many of the smaller systems now pouring across the border. It's a conscious risk the Biden administration is willing to take. In short term, the U.S. sees the transfer of hundreds of millions of dollars worth of equipment to be vital to the Ukrainians' ability to hold off Moscow's invasion. True. Happened, turned out that way. A senior defense official said Tuesday that it is certainly the largest recent supply to a partner country in a conflict, but the risk both current U.S. officials and defense analysts say is that in the long term, some of those weapons may wind up in the hands of other militaries and militias that the U.S. did not intend to arm. We have fidelity for a short time, but when it enters the fog of war, we have almost zero. Said one source briefed on the U.S. intelligence. It drops into a big black hole, and you have almost no sense of it after a short period of time. And making the decision to send billions of dollars, okay, but that's the but part of it. Because the U.S. military is not on the ground, the U.S. and NATO are heavily reliant on information provided by Ukraine's government. Privately, officials recognize that Ukraine has an incentive to give only information that would bolster their case for more aid, more arms, and more diplomatic assistance. It's a war. Everything they do and say publicly is designed to help them win the war. Every public statement is an information operation. Every interview, every Zelensky appearance broadcast is an information operation, said another source familiar with Western intelligence. Okay, who the fuck could that be? It doesn't mean they're wrong in doing it that way. For months, U.S. and Western officials have offered detailed accounts of what the West knows about the status of Russian forces inside Ukraine, how many casualties they've gotten. Okay. But when it comes to Ukrainian forces, officials acknowledge that the West, including the U.S., has some information gaps. Visibility questions. None of this says that they ended up in actual places. It's that they have the potential to because there's a fucking war going on.
You know, and I'll just say that
I would like to also say that this asshole does not give a fuck that fuck missing Stinger missiles. We can track those down later. Where are the children? QAnon Karen, where the fuck are they?
Matt, if you handed me a doll and told me to show you, point to,
oh dear God,
to a place on this doll where Russia has hurt me, I don't think I could do that because I think...
Right, because the doll doesn't have a heart and neither do you. Sorry, real quick. If a person is sexually assaulted or violently assaulted, can you point on a doll and see where in that assault or that rape or that murder you were harmed? Seriously, for somebody who's talking all the time about this alleged rise in violent crime and oh my God, she's a couple of, like, I guess $22 million richer than she was when she started in fucking Congress. So by this rise in crime across the country, she's been aided by it, if not a participant, because she never paid back her PPP loan.
The decisions that have made in Washington have been made in.
Fuck are you smiling about, creep? Hey, how about this? Ask him to show him on the doll where Matt Gaetz dosed you and flew you to Georgia with his buddies to fuck you while you were under the influence of ecstasy and alcohol, allegedly. So this is the Christian standard of Marjorie Taylor Greene. If it doesn't hurt me, it doesn't hurt at all.
Washington, D.C. Well, I can tell you that's hurt America a lot worse. So
we heard
I
about
really
that
want
hurt.
to see peace.
Yeah, we heard about that hurt. You represent a number of farmers. I represented farmers in North Florida.
And then what?
After that initial round of sanctions, the cost of their fertilizer went up substantially. The cost of planting rose, and these were farms that did not have huge margins to be able to absorb that for a war that they didn't really understand.
Potash. That's what they're talking about, because we got it from Russia by and large, because there's a lot of it left over around the areas where they drill for oil. Michigan has made a giant discovery of potash a couple of years ago in the early part of this, because the Biden administration said we're not going to buy potash from Russia, so we got to find it here. And it turned out there's there's tons of it in Michigan that we can sell to our own farmers. U.S. Department of Energy's Loan Programs Office announced today a conditional commitment for a loan guarantee up to $1.26 billion in principal and $141 million in capitalized interest to Michigan Potash Company LLC, Michigan Potash. The loan guarantee will help finance the construction of a potash solution mine and processing plant in Osceola County, Michigan, to produce approximately 800,000 tons per year of fertilizer-grade muriate of potash and about 1 million tons per year of salt. We've been getting this from Russia. Like, Trump wants to talk about, like, moving production and factories back here. This is one of the areas where you can kind of do it. Getting our own rare earth minerals, which we're doing at this place that's just outside of Las Vegas, that used to be an unused mine. They've discovered that there's a shit ton of rare earth minerals there, and more than we will need. They discovered during the same period a lithium deposit in California that's the biggest on Earth. That we can get all the lithium we need for batteries from there. And by the way, again, the only jobs added in her fucking district during her entire time in office happened because of the Biden energy policy and the sort of elements of the Green New Deal that were in the recovery package and in the infrastructure package act in both cases, that created a battery factory in her district that gave her 3,000 new jobs. High-paying jobs, I might add. Jobs that she can't wait to get rid of.
Stand as being central to any of their interests. So tell us, Congresswoman, how do we get out of this? How do we disentangle the United States from this territorial battle in Europe?
I think it's through economic.
Also, I would like to say for the record, whatever she says, it won't involve getting the children back.
Deals. And I think it's through trade. I think it's through business deals. Look, let me tell you something. I'm a businesswoman, and President
You are now.
Trump is a businessman. And that's why I understand him. And that's a lot of why I support him. It's the art of the deal.
Well, he's certainly not a moral man.
And I am hoping we see that begin today in these historic meetings. This piece.
Hold on. We don't need any more of her. Yes, we do. We gotta have a special. Yeah, What's Bucky doing? What is he doing? Oh my gosh. What's the buddy? What's a buddy to do? It's Bucky. He's coming. Look at this guy. What's happening, Bucky? Look how big he's getting. I know. It's Bucky, everybody. He looks like he was just napping. He was, yeah. I'm like, it's the middle of the day. I need to sleep so I can run all over the place in the middle of the night while you're trying to sleep. This is exhausting. Hi, buddy. There you go. Yeah, I know. How about this? How about you turn over like this and go to Snuggles? How about that? How about we lay down in Snuggles? He likes to sit like this, and he likes to panther on your arm, which is really adorable as well. And then he, of course, all right, chat room, hold on, I'll bring you in. There he is. Look at this guy with his little toe beans. Yeah, hi, buddy. Yeah, are you okay? You doing all right? And he will just let you carry him around. He likes to be held like this while I'm trying to work, too. So while I was trying to fix some of the problems I had earlier, he was running around my feet, which was super fun and adorable. And then he was also, like, he wanted to be, like, carried and just sit up in my arm like this. And I'm typing and clicking through things with my other arm. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to switch arms and I need to use the mouse. Yeah, what's he doing? What's he doing? He's such a sweetie. Look at this little guy. He's such a handsome man. He is. And he's very sweet. He's starting to purr. He wasn't purring in public before. He was a little ashamed, I think. And now he's getting, like, long enough where he just wants to, like, lay out on you. Look at this. It's so crazy. He just, yeah. Yes, we needed Bucky the palate cleanser. Absolutely. I'll let you guys go, and I will see you tomorrow. I'm going to continue to work on my rig for the for guests and stuff. Obviously, this system works just fine when I'm doing my regular show. It's the how to get guests on problem that I've been struggling with for a very long time. We'll figure out a way around it. Right, buddy? It's a Bucky. There he is. There he goes. Hi. What are you doing? Do you want to sit like this? Hold on. How about this? You can do it like that? What are you doing? Where are you going? You're such a sweetie. You're such a boy. There he is. All right. I will. Here you go, babe. I'll hand it to you. So there you go. So I can close out the. Thanks, Bucky. Yeah, I think we all need it. After Matt Gaetz and Marjorie Taylor Greene on our screens for a minute. Holy smokes. All right, I will see you guys tomorrow. Thank you guys for a great show today. Whew, we got through it. Man, oh Shevitz. And I'm going to keep working on my stuff, and hopefully I can remedy that other thing. I just need to figure out like the best way to do guests. It's always a thing. It's always the struggle. All right. You guys are awesome. Take care of yourselves and take care of somebody else. And I will see you tomorrow. Thank you, Julie.